Before we proceed further, request you to please subscribe to our channel as shown above. Hello friends, welcome to Kamath Astrology. In today's video, we will cover a different planetary conjunction, that is Saturn Ketu conjunction in a horoscope, and its connection to sanyas or asceticism. So earlier I had made a video explaining Saturn Rahu conjunction, and in today's video we will try and understand what is the impact of Saturn Ketu conjunction in a horoscope. So first let us understand what is Saturn. Saturn represents structure, order, discipline, hard work. It is also the planet which represents the masses, the poor people, the neglected people in society. On a negative side, Saturn represents limitations, delays, and frustrations. Saturn represents the boundaries. You can see that Saturn has rings around it which set the boundaries on what we can achieve and what we cannot achieve in our life. So Saturn is the planet of limitations. Saturn also represents repetitive tasks, commitment, and dedication and hard work. Saturn represents the oil and the petroleum industry. Saturn also represents the minerals which are found below the earth. Saturn also represents mines. Saturn is a judge who gives us the fruit of our past and present karmas in this life itself. So, in short, Saturn also represents responsibility. Now, what is Ketu? Ketu is the planet which represents isolation, which represents moksha, which represents liberation, which represents detachment from material things. Ketu's sole goal is to make us move towards the purpose of our soul, that is, to reach God in its true sense. And therefore, Ketu is the significator of spirituality, isolation, moksha, and liberation. Ketu is a headless being, so once he sets out in a particular direction, he does not know where and when to stop. That is, Ketu just goes on doing what he is told to do, and he does not think about the consequences. In that sense, Ketu also represents mercenaries. If you see the graphic image of Ketu, it is a headless being holding a sword and a shield in its hand. Now, what does that sword represent? That sword means that Ketu can cut off things in one blow. And therefore, wherever Ketu sits, it tends to separate you from the significations of that house. Now, wherever Saturn sits, it tends to bring upon you responsibility and burden related to the significations of that house. So, when Saturn and Ketu sit together in one house, the native is confused. On one side, he feels a sense of responsibility. At the same time, Ketu creates detachment and he feels confused. So the person starts questioning himself. Saturn is also the Karaka for career and work. He is the natural ruler of the 10th house, representing our karma. And when Saturn sits with Ketu, the native gets confused. Am I doing the right role? Am I in the right place? And very often, because Ketu creates detachment, he feels running away from his responsibility. So, if you are in a job and you have Saturn Ketu in your 10th house, then at times this conjunction can make you feel like running away from that job or from that work which you are doing. you will not really feel that sense of responsibility. You will feel that this is not worth doing it. Now, why does this happen actually? The 10th house is the house of karma, and Ketu represents the highest level of karma, that is, moving towards God, moving towards spirituality. Ketu does not want you to be trapped in material things, and therefore he makes you feel that the responsibility that Saturn is giving to you is not meaningful. He wants you to move away from the material things and attain the true purpose of your soul, that is unification with God. In that sense, whenever you have this combination of Saturn and Ketu in any house in your horoscope, it gives you a sense of renunciation with respect to the affairs of that house. And in a sense, it creates a sanyas yoga wherein you want to renounce those things and move away towards spirituality. Now, when does a human being move towards God? Very often, when you are faced with extremely difficult situations, challenging situations, or things that break you apart completely, it is then that you start moving towards God. And this is exactly what Ketu does. So, when Ketu sits with Saturn in the 10th house, it can make a person feel disinterested in his career or the work which he is doing. And the person will feel like this is not really worth the salt. I am not going to attain anything through this. And the person gets drawn towards God, towards spiritual organizations, and that is how his journey towards spirituality begins after experiencing a lot of frustration in his present job or work. So, Ketu here makes the person renounce the material things, the material achievements, and move towards a higher goal of attaining God. So, Ketu is the Karaka of uncertainty, of fear. Saturn also represents fear. So, when this combination is present in the third house in the horoscope, which represents courage, which represents effort, the person often gets very anxious and does not put in enough efforts that are needed to achieve his goals. If this combination occurs in the second house of the horoscope, the second house represents the family, it represents your assets, it represents your wealth. Now, although this person may be earning a lot of wealth, somewhere his relationship with his family members will suffer. His family members will start showing him their true colors and they may not support him wholeheartedly when he most needs their support. So, Ketu Saturn in the second house can break a person's relationship with his family and move him closer to God. Another thing to remember is Saturn represents darkness. Ketu represents the world beyond what we live in. That is, he represents the astral world. So when you have Saturn Ketu conjunction, say in your 8th house, 8th house is the house of longevity. Saturn is also the Karaka of longevity. Now when Ketu is present with Saturn, sometimes these people may not live a very long life. But whatever lifespan they have, they experience out of the world things. Okay, they may have near death experiences. They can see spirits, they can see ghosts, which other people will not be able to see. Saturn Ketu in the 8th house can give tremendous interest in occult activities. The person can also be a tantric. It can also indicate trouble from ghosts and spirits because Ketu represents the spirit world. Remember that Rahu and Ketu both move in a retrograde direction. And if you have heard the story about ghosts, you know they have their feet turned in the reverse direction and ghosts can run in the reverse direction. So Saturn Ketu combination also represents ghosts and spirits. And if you have this combination in the 8th house, then it is quite possible that you get tantric experiences. You experience ghosts in your real life. Saturn Ketu combination in the first house or in your Lagna or ascendant can sometimes give you serious health problems. You will feel fed up of those health problems and you will slowly move towards God. Saturn Ketu combination in the fourth house gives troubles with respect to the property you live in, the properties you own, or with respect to the mother's health. Fourth house is the house of peace, comforts, deep sleep. So, whenever Saturn Ketu is present in the fourth house, you may see certain strange dreams related to ghosts, spirits, and you will not have a peaceful sleep. It will never allow you to be peaceful. Saturn Ketu combination in the fifth house can make you very good in learning mantras. However, it can give certain problems with respect to the children born to you. So, Saturn Ketu combination in the fifth house can sometimes not give you children at all, or it can give you children with a delay in their birth. Or even if you get children, sometimes those children may not look after you or treat you well. Saturn Ketu combination in the sixth house. The sixth house represents routine work. And it also represents your enemies, it represents your rivals, it represents competitors, it represents diseases, debts, and loans. So, when cruel planets are present in the sixth house, your enemies will just vanish. That is, either your enemies will become your friends, or certain things will happen which will just take them away from your life. Also, this combination will remove any loans or debts that you have in your life. But sometimes it may give you painful diseases. Sixth house is the house of prarabdha. So if your prarabdha karma has something bad attached to it, then this combination can give you chronic diseases. But it will also give you the power to overcome those diseases. Now, what happens when Saturn Ketu is in the seventh house? Seventh house is the house of partnerships, it is the house of marriage, it is the house of harmony, it is the house of your public image. Now, when Saturn Ketu is present in the seventh house, if the person gets married, he may feel detached from his partner, he may not be able to live in harmony with his partner. Or sometimes this combination can completely deny marriage. Or it can also break an already performed marriage within a very short time. The person will feel like running away from his partner and move closer to God in the process. Now, this is a very painful process, but I have seen this happening in many charts. Saturn Ketu combination in the ninth house can give you higher learning through your ancestors. Certain knowledge such as astrology, healing, etc., can come to you automatically by the grace of your ancestors. Now, the ninth house also represents your gurus. So, you could get tantric gurus or gurus who are extremely strict and well versed with tantric practices. Ninth house also represents pilgrimages and journeys. So when Saturn Ketu combination is present, you may go on a lot of spiritual journeys in your life to different pilgrimage centers. And when you go on such journeys or when you meet such gurus, you might feel like abandoning your material life. So this actually forms a sanyas yoga in the horoscope. Saturn Ketu combination in the 10th house can create hurdles in the career. The person may not like his job or work and he may want to move away from what he is doing. And sometimes he may take headless actions because Ketu is headless. So he might just leave his job and walk away. Saturn Ketu combination in the 11th house can make a person very good in research related activities. But he might not like working for large organizations. The 11th house represents large organizations. And Ketu is something which you have already achieved in the past. And now you are no longer interested in doing that. So Saturn Ketu combination in the 11th house may not interest you in working for large organizations. Also, it will give you very few friends. Basically, Ketu and Saturn here create detachment and moving away from people. So you will have a very small social circle or a negligible social circle when Saturn Ketu combination is in the 11th house and not well aspected by, say, Jupiter or Venus. Saturn Ketu combination in the 12th house, extremely good for moksha, liberation, and isolation. But at the same time, the 12th house represents hospitalization. So, this combination can give a person certain diseases which can land him in hospitals for a very long time. Also, if Saturn is badly afflicted, depending on the sign where Saturn is placed along with Ketu, it can also lead to imprisonments in certain cases. So, while the 12th house combination is good for moksha, it does create a lot of problems in the material life of the person, forcing him to leave that material life and move closer to God. 12th house is also the house of bed pleasures. So when Saturn Ketu combination occurs here, it can take a person to extremes. Ketu also represents extremes in life. So the person does extreme things in life. So what is the remedy when you have Saturn Ketu combination in your horoscope? The best remedy is to go to a guru, seek his advice, and walk on the right path. Worshipping Lord Ganesha daily, worshipping your ancestors daily, will also give you a lot of relief from the malefic effects of this combination. Saturn also represents the poor and neglected, and Ketu is always about doing something for others. So, when you serve the poor, the neglected people unconditionally, Ketu is something which we have to do without conditions. So, when he is attached to your karma, that is Saturn, and you serve the poor people, the neglected people unconditionally, give them food, give them medicines, give them clothing, the malefic effects of this combination are greatly reduced, and you will be able to move through life even with this combination. So friends, this was my short video on Saturn Ketu conjunction in a horoscope and its impact. If you liked the video, please mark it as liked on YouTube. If you have not subscribed to our channel Kamath Astrology, you can do so by clicking the subscribe button. For any consultations, email us at astrosevaworld@yahoo.com and we'll be glad to assist you. You can also visit our website astroseva.tripod.com. So friends, thanks a lot. We'll see you soon shortly with another video. Till then, bye, take care and stay safe.